77-year-old James Mathias Sr. of New Boston will be 12 p.m. on Sunday, January 20th at Fruitland Community Center. Those are all the funeral announcements we have for you at this time.
Welcome to Moving Forward, sponsored by MPW Mocklink TV and Mocklink Internet, online at mpw.org. Each weekday morning, our local talk segment brings you the people who are helping move our community forward. Let's start the show.
Good morning, AM 860 FM 95.1 KWPC. I'm Jordan Davis. Thanks for joining us here this morning for Moving Forward on this Wednesday, January 16th. As always, brought to you by Muscatine Power and Water. Say hello to Mocklink Phone, your new local phone company. Fiber customers get it now. Switching is easy, and you can keep your old number. Learn more at mpw.org. I'm Jordan Davis, and I'm joined in the studio by Dave Bakke, you're one of the park rangers out there for the County Conservation Board, a naturalist too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. And also Tim Scott's in here helping me get things rolling.
Good morning.
Glad to have you in here too, Tim. So what's new out there? I'm going to hand it over to Tim.
You got Bald Eagle days coming up, right?
It is. Yeah. That's going to be the 26th.
Okay.
I just checked the forecast. I'm hoping it's actually a little warmer than the forecast is, but we'll be down at the Pearl City Station down on the riverfront.
Okay.
And the Conservation Board's hosting that this year with help from the Corps of Engineers, and a number of other local conservation groups will be there. So we'll have spotting scopes and binoculars so people can get out to see the eagles. And actually with the cold weather, that's kind of a benefit. If things will start to freeze up a little bit, it'll kind of force the eagles back towards the Mississippi
dam
River,
there,
the
and
dam,
where that open water is. They like to go there and fish, don't they?
Yeah. Yep, the fish come through the dam there and they get kind of stunned, and so it's a good spot for them to go. But right now with everything, it's been kind of an open winter, and so the eagles are just spread out all over. They're finding plenty of food everywhere else, scavenging things. So this will change things with snow last weekend and more snow forecast for this weekend. We should see more down by the river, which will be nice. We'll have our live raptor program.
Great.
The group that has come in the past few years has always done a nice job, but they've had some personnel changes, and so we're not able to come and visit us this year. So we have a group coming from Iowa City. It's called the RARE Group, and they do raptor rehabilitation. I think it stands for Raptor Advocacy, Rehab, and Education.
Well, they have like a bald eagle, or
they do not have a bald eagle that they use as an education bird. So they're bringing a barn owl, a red-tailed hawk, and Iowa's smallest but most common falcon, a little American kestrel.
Oh,
okay.
Very cool.
So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so we'll, like we have in years past, we'll have a program at 9:30 and at 11 o'clock down there. There'll be crafts for the kids. We'll have hot chocolate and coffee all day, and there's no charge for anybody for anything. So we encourage people to come on down and learn a little bit more about bald eagles from people helping to view them and answering questions, and then a little bit more about raptors in general. Of course, eagles are part of that raptor group of birds.
They really are an impressive bird. I know you've seen one up close. If you ever get the chance to see one up close, they're very impressive.
They really are. They can be kind of intimidating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're a big bird.
I've helped capture a few that were injured, and it's... I was wearing, a face shield, because if they're not feeling well, or they're just not happy being captured, they can struggle, and they can, with their talons or with their beak, they can be a little bit dangerous. So.
And their talons are about the size of a guy's hand, aren't they?
Yes, yeah, they are. And very, very strong.
Mm-hmm.
So never shake hands with an eagle.
Right.
Without gloves on.
Are those red-tailed hawks that you see sometimes, like let's say you're driving down the interstate or down roads and you look up on top of a post or something and it seems like they're always sitting up there like hunting mice or something like that? Are those hawks that do that? Or?
Yes, and this time of year... probably 95% of the time it is a red-tailed hawk.
Okay.
Our other hawks tend to migrate. There are a few others that may hang around, they may stop their migration and hang around for the winter, but most of them just pass on through. One other one people might see is one that's called a northern harrier. But we wouldn't see them so much perched along the roadways like that. You might see them on a fence post or flying out over just an open cornfield or a farm field, and they would be flying 3 or 4 feet off the ground, and they're hunting when they're doing that. So if it's high in the air, it's a red tail this time of year. If it's lower to the ground, it might be that northern harrier, but beyond that, and I should say American kestrels stick around too. And there's a few other hawks we might see in towns, actually.
How rare is it to see an osprey in this area?
It would be uncommon.
Yeah, because I've only ever seen one. They perched out above our pond. I live right across. I used to live right across the river in Illinois, and we had one perch in a dead tree above our pond. I thought it was an eagle because you could see a little bit of the white head, but it just didn't look right when we pulled out the binoculars and looked through it. But
yeah, and one thing you might look for if you see it fly away. Eagles have wings that are they're just straight out, but the osprey would have wings. I mean, you might say that looks like a small eagle, but the wings would be crooked. Would be analogous to our wrists. So, and I'm demonstrating this on the radio. Can everybody see that? But it looks like it's kind of bent. And so you might think, a person might think, that doesn't quite look like an eagle, and it might not be, because ospreys are also fish eaters. So anywhere near water. More so actually than eagles. They would rarely hunt for mice and rabbits and things like that. It's fish that they're looking for.
I saw a PBS show just the other night about eagles, and it was done here in Iowa, and a couple of interesting facts that they were talking about. They said they don't get the white head until they're about 5 years old, and then they were also saying, was it back in the 50s maybe, that there were only 600 or less breeding pairs in the whole United States. For some, because of up until the 70s, because of DDT.
Yeah.
So when they banned DDT, like in the early 70s, then the population started to come back, but it killed off lots of bird species.
Yes, and it wasn't just eagles, but they were the one that were most noticeable, and they're our national symbols, so they sometimes get a little bit more attention. But the DDT would affect the eggshells, is basically what was happening. So
the calcium. Yeah, that's what they were saying.
And so they would lay the eggs, and then when they would go to sit on them, they would crush the eggs. And so some birds, when that happens, if their nest is destroyed or eggs are broken, that's it. They're just done. They're not going to lay more eggs to replace them. Some birds will, but eagles are one that then they were just done for that year. And they don't normally lay a lot of eggs anyway, 2 or 3 eggs.
Do they breed for life? Or?
Yes, they do. They typically mate for life.
Okay. And they're monogamous?
I would say not necessarily.
Okay.
I don't know, and there's a lot of research done on that, but many of the birds that mate for life are not necessarily monogamous.
Okay, I never realized that.
But when they get a female on the nest, they will typically stay and help and assist with that.
Okay.
But during the breeding season, maybe not so much.
Right.
So
interesting. What's going on down at Deep Lakes Park?
It's cold. The ponds are still wet. Things are starting to ice up now. Things have been open all winter long, and usually those ponds are pretty open anyway, even in cold weather. This next year, we will be having 4 cabins built down there. Probably late June is kind of the preliminary guess on when that'll happen. So at that same time, we'll be drilling a well, so we'll have water for those. We'll have electricity run into the park, and that'll help. At this time, we don't, for instance, have security lights down there. We'd like to get some security lights in there. Other developments down there will be doing more trail work, starting to make extensions off of that paved trail where people can get out closer to some of the other ponds that it goes by more easily. There's some places that would have a nice spot for a scenic overlook. So we'll be starting to work on those things. Maybe not as flashy, but pretty important to a lot of people. We're going to be starting to replace our porta potties with more permanent structures, not flush yet, but more modern vault toilets that will be much better to use. People will like those a lot better.
Dave, when I was a young boy, that was just a magical area down there. I grew up in South End, and that was my playground down there. That was where we used to go. We hunted. We fished. There was a rifle range down there. There was 2 ranges. There was a police range, and then another part they called the rifle range, where you would shoot into this great big hill of sand, basically. And then for a while, too, when I was a kid, you could go down to, I don't think it was Han Ready Mix, it was even before that, but you could, for $5, you could buy this card that you kept in your wallet, and basically you signed a statement that said, if there's an accident or you get killed, you know, they're not liable for it. But that would let you go fish on certain ones and stuff like that. But it was just incredible. I mean, you would go down there just like today, and the water was clear, and you could see the fish, and it was just a magical area. So I'm so glad that the state now has that and is doing what they're doing down there with it, because it's going to bring a whole new bunch of people down there that maybe wouldn't have necessarily went down there.
Yeah, and it's already doing that. And I can't tell you how many people have told me a similar story when I was in high school. And they're all people of a certain age, like you and I. And they remember that clearly. And some people have shared that in different ponds in different areas, they were kind of unofficially, but recognizes that's where the Durant people are going. Or if you're from the Quad Cities, you're going to go to this area. Muscatine people are over here. And I asked people, were there problems? And they said, no, not really.
No.
People just like to hang with people they knew, so that's just kind of how
you would
it
get an inner tube, like a semi-truck inner tube, and air it up, and you would go out there and float. Maybe go to an island and just bring sandwiches or whatever and have a nice day with your friends, you know.
Yeah, yep. And then came the world of liability issues.
Yeah, exactly.
And that really was what caused a lot of those areas to be made off limits to the public.
Sure.
There are inherent risks for those kinds of areas. And sometimes people ask us about some of the rules we have. Why can't we, for instance, swim anywhere that we want? And, well, it isn't safe everywhere to swim. And so that's why we made a swimming beach there. And we have a spot for that. But still, it's, you know, we still find people that have missed the signs. So we remind them and move them back over to the beach.
Yeah, I've got a lot of good memories about. Now, an older guy like me, I'm going to be 59 this year. We always called them the pits. We're going down to the pits.
Right.
And they were gravel pits, so that's why they called them the pits.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in Marshalltown, and we had an area that people call the pits. Just east of town, there's a sand and gravel pit, but about 8 or 9 miles away, there's a big limestone quarry that people call the pits, and we use it the same way. You could go there and get a little paper and sign off, saying you'd behave yourself, it wouldn't cause any problems, and you could go fish there. We would camp there overnight, though I'm not sure they want us to camp, but we were quiet and picked up after ourselves, and nobody ever said anything. But again, I know what you mean. It's a lot of fun.
Back in the day, I think like people behaved themselves better than people today do.
Yeah,
I like.
They're tearing up parks all around the country right now because there aren't people working them. It's insane.
It's pretty sad. Yeah. It's pretty sad.
Yeah.
So that's great. What else is going on down at Deep Lakes?
Well, we continue to stock fish periodically down there. Our muskie that we've been stocking down there, people are catching some of those now in the 30-inch range.
Okay.
So they're doing really well. The DNR is very happy with how they're doing. Probably 4 or 5 years, maybe a little bit more, until they're big enough to keep, maybe 40 inches. So that's all going very well. We're just waiting for warmer weather again.
Let's talk a little bit about the Conservation Board office over here off of Cedar Street. A lot of people have never been there before, and you have a really nice, huge fish tank in there with a lot of fish that you would necessarily find in the river here or area ponds and streams.
Yes, that's correct. And I'll say it's fun to have those there, though I see the other side of the aquariums where we're scrubbing and cleaning filters and things like that. And we've got some good people working there that take care of a lot of that. But we're really happy to have those because people really do enjoy coming in and looking at them. Kids just, they're right up there looking at them. What's this? What's that? And we've got everything labeled up there, so it's easier for the parents to say, oh, that's this or that's that, if they're not sure. A lot of people that come in and they just sit on the little bench there in front of them and they just sit and watch the fish. And if you have aquariums at home, you know how that is. They can be kind of mesmerizing just watching them go back and forth. So.
And then you've got a lot of stuffed animals over there as well, so the kids can see, you know, whatever, a badger, a hawk, whatever the case may be. A lot of stuffed animals.
Yeah, the kids call it the dead zoo.
Okay.
Dead zoo.
Yeah, well, yeah, not the little kids, but you get into middle and upper elementary, and they enjoy that. I know totally what they're saying, but they really like seeing that. You see a lot of people walk in and they just kind of come in a little ways and they just stand there and their eyes are just going all over the place.
And if you're looking for stuff to do during the summer with your children, you can actually go over there and sign up for a newsletter. I signed up for your newsletter, and from time to time I'll get this newsletter and it'll tell what classes or things that you have coming up, things like that, and that's always interesting too.
Yeah, we have summer camps for kids. It's one of the very few things that we do have a fee for. But those will be coming out. The schedules will be coming out probably March or so. All that's on our website, and we'll announce that on our Facebook page when that stuff's available. And people can always call us too.
So are you open this time of year on the weekend if somebody wanted to come over? And
Saturdays and Sundays from noon to 4.
Noon to 4, okay.
Some days we feel like the Maytag repairman sitting in there, and especially when if the weather is not good, it's usually pretty quiet. But sometimes we're surprised by how many people stop by.
Yeah, if you're looking for something to do, definitely go over there and check it out. You should check it out, Jordan.
Yeah, I know. I really need to get over there. But that also reminds me, speaking of the kids, we need to let Mr. Bakke go because he's got to go show some kids some animals, don't you?
Oh, you do? Why didn't you say anything?
No, that's okay. That's okay. We're fine here.
Thanks a bunch. We really appreciate you coming in, Dave, and giving us a little heads up. The Rare folks, I'm really excited to see them because they do some cool work.
And they're happy to talk. They'll probably talk a little bit about the work they do. They get lots of raptors. When we get people call us with injured birds like that around Muscatine, we'll often pick them up and then we'll contact Rare and one way or another get the birds up to them. But they do a lot of fabulous work with injured hawks, owls, eagles, whatever it might be.
Oh, yeah. That's super exciting. We're really glad to see him come back to the area and do a little bit with the Eagle Days that are coming up. And one last time, I know you got to go.
That's okay.
What's the date one more time for me for the Eagle?
It's January 26th.
26th,
so it's a week from this Saturday.
This Saturday,
yeah,
excellent.
And it'll run from 9 to 2. During that time, people will be there to answer questions, or kids can do the crafts and things like that. So, or even if you're out and about and need some hot chocolate or coffee, just stop in.
There you go.
That's great. Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Dave, and thanks to Tim Scott for sitting in with us this morning too. What a pleasure that is.
Well, I told this guy, I said, we've known each other for how long? And he said 1988, and I thought it was longer than that actually. But
sometimes life just seems like
I'll tell you, longer than I've been alive, Tim. That's
yeah. There you go. Yeah, but good guy right here, I'll tell you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Dave,
You're
for
very
joining
welcome.
us up this morning. This is all brought to you by Muscatine Power and Water. Again, experience the best value in entertainment and connectivity with MockLink Internet and TV from MP&W. New subscribers save big on TV or Internet. Even more when you take both. Learn more at mpw.org. All this brought to you by MPW. It's moving forward here on the voiceofmuscatine.com.